my situation, I like to think that it's unique, but of course I gained weight on my mission, and I set my goal before my mission that I wasn't going to gain weight at all or anything. And I'm sure I gained a lot of weight because of what I ate and because I probably should have worked out harder than I always did in the mornings. But I was also diagnosed with lupus on my mission, which was an interesting experience. Like, I'd been diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis, but the first summer I was out in my mission, all of a sudden I had these like these sharp shooting pains in my chest, and like had all this fluid filling up in my lungs. And so I thought that it was something like unrelated to my autoimmune diseases, but I went to my rheumatologist, and I was diagnosed with lupus. And while that was hard, that was probably one of the best things of my mission, because I think that's when I really learned to rely on the Lord and for Him to really strengthen me. I went to a lot of doctor's appointments on my mission, but there were only 2 days that I really stayed in for like an hour at a time. One, because I just had this sharp pain in my chest, and another because I got the flu like a week before I went home. But I really felt the Lord just lifting me and strengthening me in that regard. And so I was on a bunch of steroids that helped me gain a lot of weight. But since I've been home, it's been great. The Lord blesses you, and it comes off, and you learn, and you love, and you grow, and it's okay. It's part of the process. I did have to go to the doctor a lot, which really irritated me also and frustrated me, because I was just anxious to be a sister missionary who was diligent and faithful in the work and didn't want to have to put up with anything like that. And I also didn't want to just be like a sissy, a sissy sister missionary, because I was there to work, and I wasn't there for a study abroad or to just have fun. I was there to work. But I went to the doctor on one experience. We were 20 minutes outside of my area, and I was getting ready to have my blood drawn, and the phlebotomist comes around the corner, and he's like, "Are you sisters?" And we came around, and he's like, "Oh man, I'm from Ogden. I'm from a family of 15. I grew up in the church." And I was like, "No way. That's insane." And we started talking to him and pushed a little bit, like, "We'd love to have you come to church. We'd love to meet with you." He's like, "Hold up, like, that's a little too fast." And then he told us that he was homosexual at that time. And we were like, all right. So we went back to the doctor like a month later, and he's like, "Sisters, when does church start?" And even though we were 20 minutes outside of our area, by some miracle, he happened to be in our area boundaries, which was incredible. And we started meeting with him. He came to church. It was the coolest thing to see this guy sing the words, belt the words to "I'm a child of God" in sacrament meeting. And eventually we met with him, and he overcame some huge barriers. And 6 months later, he was endowed in the temple, and I got to go with him. And so that was just one of the coolest experiences, because I was so frustrated that I wasn't even in my area, that I had to take all this time to go to the doctor when I was fine. I felt fine. And here the Lord, like, seriously still totally aligned our paths so that we could meet and still be productive servants, because we had those desires to do our best. That was probably one of the sources of my most joy on my mission, because I realized that God sometimes gives us those challenges to even further the work in a lot of ways. Like, for a year of my mission, I had to drive down to San Antonio once a month and get this like IV injection, and I'd have to just sit in the infusion room for a couple hours. But it was honestly like the best proselyting activity, because I'd just sit in this chair. It was like going to a nail salon. You just like recline in these chairs, and they'd hook you up, and I could just chat with everyone in the infusion room about the gospel for like 2 hours straight. And I built the best relationships with the nurses and with the doctor. And at the end of my mission, I gave like everyone in the office a Book of Mormon, and would just hand out restoration pamphlets in the office and everything. And had I been in the middle of Africa, like, I would not have had those opportunities, and I would have felt sick. But it was really neat to be able to even relate to a lot of the people that I was teaching in my mission who were really suffering and struggling. So hands down, I know I was supposed to serve in San Antonio, and I know that those challenges were meant to be, because God provides opportunities. Looking throughout my whole mission, the days are just long, and the work is a little bit tedious at times. And so getting up every morning at 6:30, and working all day long after you're studying and coming home and planning at the end of the night when you're exhausted, like, was a lot for one day. I felt like I was walking around Disneyland all day, and I'm exhausted after doing that. And so just to think that I did that every single day for 1.5 years straight is mind-blowing to me, because I know without a doubt that I could not have done that had it not been for the strengthening power I received through the atonement of Christ. So that's definitely just one thing. The whole phenomenon of serving a mission is just remarkable. And it's exciting. I look back now and look at my days, and while I try to be productive, I'm like, what? Man, I was really accomplishing a lot as a missionary, and that was definitely because of the Lord. There was no way I could have just done that by myself.